What's up? All right. We're live. We're back at it again. Episode 58, a Guy Thing podcast. We're just cruising. And I say that every episode because every single week there's a brand new episode. It's pretty amazing. I'm very thankful for all the people that subscribe, that are continuing to subscribe, all the guests that have been on the show, and the people that are interested in being on the show. I got some pretty exciting things that are coming up. First, I just wanted to say thank you, not only to John Moore over at the Steel Tie Spirits Distillery in West Palm Beach in the Warehouse District. Also, Amelia DeVita, host of 105.9 Big FM. Excellent, great girl. Really enjoyed having that beautiful Aussie on the show. We had a great time. And I got some pretty exciting stuff that's coming up in the pipeline. We're going to be going to Austria. Guy Think Podcast hits Europe next Saturday. We're going to London. We're going to Vienna. We're going to Graz. We're going to where Arnold Schwarzenegger grew up. It's going to be pretty amazing. So I'm very excited and very grateful that the Austrians have invited me out to Europe. So I'm very excited about that. This week, we got Dana Shaw back in the co-host chair.
Good to see you.
Welcome back. Welcome back,
It's good
brother.
to be here.
Always
Especially you're in a favorite brewery, Robot. Mad Robot.
We are live at the Mad Robot, Boca Raton, Florida. It's just an amazing place. If you like good beer, if you like great atmosphere, this is the place to be. Come on down, Boca Raton, Federal Highway, Spanish River. Do it. But today's guest, I am very excited to have this gentleman on the show today. Anthony Colon, author of Thug's Revenge, Coward's Nightmare, a street tale. It's on Amazon. It is available for download and for purchase. And we're also going to be giving away a hard copy to one of our lucky subscribers. So stay tuned for the announcement of that. And Anthony's a great guy. Anthony's been through a lot in his life, some ups, some downs, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about his road to recovery. So, Anthony, thank you for coming on the show, my friend.
Man, it's a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you, Joe, for what you're doing. This is just amazing things. I'm so excited. So glad to be here. I'm humbled by it, to actually be able to show and share my story with people out there. So thank you again for having me on here, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. My pleasure. And so you're a New York guy like me.
Bronx.
New York guy like Dana. From the Bronx. You're from
Long Island.
Long Island, Strong Island, Brooklyn, Bronx.
We're here, baby.
This is pretty strong New York right here.
Right.
We got pretty much half the sixth borough right here. That's pretty cool. But yeah, man. So born and raised in the Bronx.
Born and raised in the Bronx. I was born in Hunts Point section on Tremont and Prospect. When I was a little kid, I moved over to 188 from Webster Avenue. Block is Marion Avenue. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. It's just hard and tough, but you know what? I'm here. I'm alive. I'm breathing. Can't say that for a lot of people. So, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And what was that like growing up for you as a kid out in the Bronx?
Oh, man, to be honest with you, growing up in the 80s, I was born in the 70s. I was growing up in the 80s in New York. And my neighborhood was no different than anybody else. Barbara Walters actually did an interview on 2020 about my neighborhood back in the 80s. And she compared my neighborhood actually to Vietnam. That's how bad it was. It was either, survive or die.
Mm-hmm.
It was when the crack epidemic hit, it was just, it was crazy, to actually be a young kid out there selling drugs and then to actually see it affect and hit home. Your family's hooked on it. And at that point, it was just like, it was a sad thing, but again, it was either survive or die. And that's what I did. I survived, and it was horrible. Burnt down buildings, bodies everywhere. Police wouldn't even jump out on the block, unless they came out with a SWAT team. But and all that was just, still as a kid, we did what all kids did, we played in the back of the abandoned building on dirty mattresses, did gymnastics, went to school, got into trouble, and some of us went straight, some of us went to school, graduated, became good, productive members of society, and that's what I'm working towards now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, what was that like? Like when did you notice the change? Like At what age did you notice, like, all right, this is really real stuff going on out here in the neighborhood? Even though you were a kid, I'm sure you identified that at a young age. That
I started hanging out in the corners on my block at around maybe 9, 10 years old. I remember a Halloween day is when I met my best friend, Sean. His name, called him Ewok. I gave him that name. My mother was, for the first time, actually let me go out and hang out by myself. And she was like, yeah, stay in the neighborhood, go trick-or-treating. And, I met my best friend, Ewok. Since day one, we just became inseparable. And once we connected all the other kids in the neighborhood and then became part of the neighborhood. And then it wasn't until like I was 11 years old when the crack hit hard. And everybody in the neighborhood was selling drugs, and, they used us as the little kids to hold the drugs so we could get a pair of new sneakers, a pair of pants, whatever it was. And I just got attracted to it, to be honest with you. It felt good to be able to have some money in your pocket, and it was just like everybody was doing it, why not?
So you had, obviously you were 9, 10 years old, 11 years old. That's when you started experiencing like this drug epidemic. Obviously running with the wrong crowd. How did you get involved? Did you get involved like any gangs or anything like that?
We didn't have a gang. We had little cliques, and growing up back then, the gangs didn't come into later in my life. I did roll with gangs as I got older in prison. Been in and out of prison since I was 12 years old, starting with Sparfit, then graduated to state prison, then federal prison. And but I did roll with some notorious gangs when I was locked up. I rolled with the Latin Kings back in the early 90s, then with the Bloods, and it was part of my story, and it was just something that just happened. I don't know if people know about Rikers Island, but Rikers Island is, not a place for anybody. And I tell people all the time, I was in the mix of, I've been involved in like 3 riots. I've had my neck slashed while I was in prison. I've been stabbed. I've been through it all, and only because of the choices that I made. The choices I made was to get involved, and once I did that, there was really no turning back.
Like with the gangs, like what was your first experience with the gang? Like getting initiated? Or?
My first getting with the gangs was back in, I would say, 91 in Rikers Island. I was about 17 years old. And
for listeners that don't know about Rikers Island, it's a jail in New York that's on its own island. It's a prison that's pretty much in the water. So the only way to get there is on a bridge or by a boat, pretty much.
The East Coast version of Alcatraz.
Exactly. That's exactly. I mean, it's so bad even to this day that they're actually trying to close it down and spread it out because there's just so much violence there. When I was 17, when I first went through, there was a building there called C-74. They called it Adolescents at War. It was all adolescents. And, got into some problems there. One of my brothers actually was a member of the Latin King, and he made some contact for me to get, with some Kings over there. And that's how it just got started. And I made some bad choices, but I had to survive. I had to survive, Yeah,
what's that like in jail? Like, obviously you're in prison now. Maybe you have friends of them, maybe you don't. Maybe you have people that know friends of yours that are in there looking out for you. But like, what's the mindset when you get in there and you're like, hey, like, what am I gonna do?
I learned at an early age. The first time I got locked up, I must have been around 12 years old. That's said, the first time I went to Sparfit. I'm not gonna lie. And I remember I was there for 30 days. And this was back in the 80s with the Central Park rapists, who are innocent, by the way. Let me just say that, Antron McCraig, Raymond Santana, Yusef Salam. I was there with them at that time. And believe it or not, I knew there was something wrong with me because I liked the seclusion. I liked to be involved, and I didn't want to go home. I felt very comfortable, and I guess that's what allowed me to, when I committed crimes or when I did something, I made a bad choice. It was okay with me. I knew how to survive, But I don't recommend that for anybody. There's a lot of codes and a lot of rules to survive in prison. A lot.
So you were in state prison, federal prison.
Yeah, so I just came home actually 23 months ago. About 23 months ago, I just came home actually from federal and state prison down here in Florida. But in New York State, I was in Attica, I was in Comstock, I was in Greene, I was in Livingston, I was in Fishkill, downstate. I mean, I've been to like 17 different state prisons in New York. My last prison sentence that I did before this one down here in Florida was 10 years. And I went in with a 3-year sentence. So I just go to tell you that I added time, I added time. And it wasn't no one's fault, to be honest with you. It was just the choices that I made, that once I committed to being part of a gang, I had to continue to live that lifestyle, And it's not that I was a bad person, but, I believe we all wear masks, in life. And it was adapt. And that's what I did, and it was mostly more out of fear, but I couldn't show that fear. Mm-hmm. And so I always had to be an aggressor. I always had to be the alpha dog. And it cost me. It cost me a lot of times. It cost me a relationship with my daughter, almost cost me a relationship with my son, because I wasn't willing at that time to give up that lifestyle,
So then, when did you decide that you wanted to start writing?
On my last prison term, I started writing like around 2003. I came home 2006. So around 2003, I was already in for about 7 years or so. And I remember clearly, it was New Year's Day. I was the head of my gang, and I was locked up in solitary confinement. I had been there already like 36 months, and everybody was coming to me on what we're going to do for that day, even though it was locked down, and they wanted to create chaos. And I'd be honest, there was something that came over me, and it's hard to explain. I don't know if it was an epiphany, but a calm came over me, and I didn't want to do it no more. I didn't want to be that person to continue to hurt people, to continue to be responsible for other people being hurt. And I made a choice. And I let the whole block know at that time that we're not doing nothing. We're going to stand down. And at that point, I didn't want to be a part of the gang no more, which created a massive chaos. And I started just writing right after I got out of solitary confinement,
What do you think was like going on in your head? Like, what was going on in your head when you made that decision? Can you explain what happened? Like, or it was just something came over you?
To be honest, I had a cellmate. A kid from Washington Heights, real good guy, and we was in there together in that cell for about 17 months together. We done fought, we done made up. We was getting high. We was doing everything in that cell. And at this point, we had created such a bond. And I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't, because of a stigma that the gang says that this is how we live and this is what we have to do. For no reason. It was just for no reason, just to get a reputation for the gang to say on New Year's Day, we're going to hurt every one of our cellmates just because. I didn't want to do that no more. I got a compassion about me, and I said, you know what, it ain't right. And I don't know where it came from, to be honest with you, because I never had no problem with that. And it was either hurt this gentleman that I become close with, who lived with me for the past 17 months, right? Or go against the gang. and I knew going against a gang was probably more detrimental to me, but I was willing to take that risk.
So you took that risk.
I took that risk.
What was the repercussion for that?
The repercussions behind that was really, to be honest with you, was nothing. Because of my ranking in the gang, I was able to reach out to a higher member of that gang who understood where I was coming from. And he opened the door for me. He was like, you know what, Anthony, this is what you want to do. If this is how you want to live and you want to change your life, then I respect that. He said, because sometimes people think that gangs have to live up to a certain stigma. And he said, one thing about growing up is about change. And he said, once you realize what you want to do with your life and it's something positive, by all means, why should I hold you down on this gang? Because at the end of the day, you continue to keep acting out in here and getting more time. No one in here is going to pay your bills. No one's going to help your kids. No one's going to help your girl, you know, and it struck a chord. And I was like really relieved. Now, some of the backlash verbally that I got from some of the gang members at the other prison was something that I just brushed off my shoulders. You know, I had a reputation for myself enough that they knew that if they did something, there was going to be some repercussions. That's because I was stepping down didn't mean that I was just going to, you know, turn the other cheek.
Right.
If you try to harm me, it was going to be a repercussion. Mm-hmm. And thank God it didn't have to come to that.
That's great.
And then I just started writing. You know, I just started writing. First, I just started writing my little thoughts, kept keeping a little journal. Then I just came out with this story, and I was like, you know what, let me just put my life on paper. And what started out as just frivolous writing, you know, became a story. And then the story became, you know, to what it is now. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm at.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That is really that you could get to that point because, you know, gangs, they get kids, you know, when they're young and not vulnerable, not fully mentally developed, and they maybe have rough upbringing, you know, rough family or whatever the case may be, and they feel that connection with gang members, you know, and then you I guess you either never get out of it or you have a situation like yours where you have that breaking point and you make a decision to do something else with your life.
Right. And let me be honest. And a lot of people are going to hate that I say this, especially people that are involved in gang. But you know what? I really don't care, to be honest. The truth of the matter is that if you're young, that if you're out there and you think that being a part of a gang is something that's going to be beneficial to you in any way, it's not. I tell you, gang members is just an illusion of people who are freaking scared, who are living in fear, that they have to regroup and take advantage of the younger person who has no father, who has no guidance, who has no directions in life. Okay, but let me tell you something. At the end of the day, when it comes down to them protecting you, it's not going to happen. And so my advice to any people out there, any young kids, any young man, anybody that want to get involved in gang, you have a better chance of following and chasing your dreams and being the oddball than doing what's easily available to you and that's becoming involved in something that you have no idea what you're getting involved in.
That's well said. He's absolutely right. It's more about, especially at that young age, because we've all been that young, where you're focused on that short term. You're focused on protection, and you're focused on the short term goal. You like having cash in your pocket. You like being able to take your girl out. You like the things that you get, the watches, and maybe buying some stuff for your car, whatever. But at a sacrifice, you're a detriment to your long term goal. And I think that's what a lot of kids, especially from you, need to hear is that in the short term, it's wonderful, but you can only sustain that for so long before you run out of space, and you end up, in a situation you don't want to be involved.
Well, you were a cop. What were some of your dealings with kids and gangs and stuff like that?
I mean, the youngest gang member I ever dealt with was 14 years old. He had a warrant for burglary, which is not as severe as robbery. But I mean, he knew, you don't say nothing to the cops. He ran from me. I caught him. He was wearing a beater and shorts, and I was wearing all my shit, but I ended up taking him down. So, but no, I mean, that was the thing, especially nowadays, there's a lot of, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that every cop out there walking a beat is or should be there. Most of them are. But you have that one or two that, they make national news, and then it becomes a whole to-do. Kids and people of all races and all ages should be able to trust cops. But I do understand at least the stigma that when we roll up, it's never for anything positive.
Right.
Somebody's having like a 100th birthday party, we don't roll up and help you celebrate. It comes with that. But being able to affect a positive change, and even for as a police officer to try and affect that long-term positivity, is a big goal of ours. And that's something that we try and do. Because look, nobody wants to be in prison. I hated taking people to jail. I mean, it's something I had to do. I didn't take any pleasure in it. I didn't so much hate it for the fact where, look, I gave you every chance I could give you. And now you've run out of space. And that's where you had to end up. For some people, like especially in your situation, it's wonderful. You have a chance to turn the corner and not only better yourself, but better other people. Anybody can serve a prison term. But it takes a special kind of person to serve that term, not only do well for themselves and for their family, but also stretch out and give that to other people, which is very respectable. I really appreciate that.
That is also, and you hit on something, and I want to say, you know what, you're right. Not all cops are bad cops. They're not, because as I was coming up, I had neighborhood cops that knew the neighborhood, and when they saw me out there hanging out, instead of taking me to jail and whipping my ass, they'll take me to my house, to my mother, and tell my mother, hey, listen, he's out on the corner again. Mm-hmm. The punishment that I got from my mother, I'll be honest, I wish that I got taken to jail. Okay? But, I look at it this way, as adults, that once you have a clear conscience to make a decision, whether right or wrong, okay? And it's been since the day of time. Cops and robbers, you do what you do as law enforcement. I do what I do, and it always has to be, you have to accept the consequences. Every time I decided to go outside of the law, I knew what the consequences was. And not every officer that I came across was a bad officer. I literally had officers that arrested me and was like, Anthony, like, when are you gonna give up? Like, you're not a good criminal. Like you're not, like, you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? It's like, and I would laugh at it. But when I look at it back now, it's like, I was a horrible criminal. I've never gotten away with anything. And even when I try to change the dynamics of what I was doing in the streets into, this last prison was white collar stuff. I could have went when I got arrested and put blame on my drug addiction. I could have put blame on this person, that person, and every other person, and maybe got my sentence lighter. But the truth of the matter is, I accepted responsibility. I owned up to what I did because I knew right from wrong. And one of the things that I regret, I remember when I was locked up, my wife was here, asked me, like, why didn't you? And it was like, it was not my place to put anybody under the bus, but to accept responsibility. And she was like, but why you have to do so much time? And I meant when I told her, because I deserved it. I literally got what I deserved, and I did every day of it, because what I did was messed up, and I did it knowingly. Mm-hmm. Today when I think about, it wasn't about the money that we took, it's about the trust that I broke in hardworking people's lives. Mm-hmm. That is something they can't get back. Could have been my mother, your mother, father, grandmother. My wife's got a 90-year-old grandmother now. And I think about that every day. And every day I get up, it's like, what can I do now today to change that? How can I be a better person? How can I help people? you know, because life is about change, you know, and like, and I think we all have a part to play. I think if everybody unifies, and one of the biggest problems today is that we don't have enough fathers out there. We don't have nobody that's playing the father role. You
That's
know,
big, man. That's big. You know, I was lucky, fortunate enough to grow up with my dad, you know. And, you know, my dad was tough on me, but I was a ball breaker growing up. You know, I was in trouble. I was always doing something I shouldn't have been doing, but I always had my parents, always, they were a good tag team. Like, it was a very united front in my house. Like, if something went down, they were there, you know, so it was good. I got in trouble, but they were always able to reel me back, you know. But I agree with you. Yeah, there's not enough dads out there, man. People don't realize how important it is, man.
Well, not only that, but just to have a positive role model in
Right.
general, whether it's father, uncle, even somebody who's not related, where you have, you know, especially with you know the recruiters who do the gangs and stuff. If they had done that, but do something like positive. I'm not talking about going to the military, but I'm saying like, look, just focus on your grades, try and get a scholarship, try and figure out a way to afford college. You can really change a lot of that cycle. And look, even if whether you're a criminal or not, society as a whole nowadays is very, like I said, short term. You only want short term stuff, but you don't focus on the longer goals. I mean, I think nowadays people are very self centered. It's very, you know, how can I benefit my life in the next 5 seconds?
Sure.
Whether it be by social media or whatever. But you're not focusing on how is that going to affect me 5 years from now.
Right.
And that's, I think, what people need to start realizing.
I was talking about it yesterday, you know, and I made a post about it, but it's true. You know, some days you wake up and you think about stuff, oh, you know, that kind of makes sense now, you know, now that I think about it. And, you know, it was true. Like when I was younger, I was always thinking about the next 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah,
you
we
know,
all were.
I wasn't thinking about the future. And I was thinking about like, all right, what could I do now to make money? What could I do now to get ahead? And it may necessarily not be something that makes me happy personally, but I'm going to do it because people are making money and I want to make money too.
Exactly.
But that shit doesn't last. And
No.
when-
A lot of the short term stuff doesn't.
it doesn't. And then once I changed my thinking, it took me like a lot of craziness going on in my life in the last 2 years for it to sink in, but it did. And I'm happy and grateful it did, because now it's focusing on the things that bring joy to my life, focus on the things that make me happy. Just wash away the negative, bring in the positive, whether it's people, things going on in my life. And if I could surround myself, I mean, look, we're all going to have bad days. There's no question about it, and we're not perfect. But if I could always maintain my focus on positive things that make me happy, and I could also help people along the way, I'm the richest man in the world.
Yep.
I don't need to worry about money at that point because I'm fucking happy.
Absolutely. You know, and one of the things that I try to talk about, like I you know, did some volunteer work at a group home up in West Palm, up in Viviera. That's a group home up there. And I talked to the kids. And even before I went in, I used to volunteer at a group home down here in Boca called the Haven for Boys. It was a group home. And one of the things that I used to tell kids, you know, it's like, you got a chance to get your life together. You have a chance to go to school. And, you know, when I was in the federal prison, we did a survey. There was a government survey that compared your average drug dealer, and I'm talking average drug dealer, that's in the corners, selling for somebody else, thinking that they making money when they really not, compared to that kid, right, that decides to stay at 17 years old, I'm going to fill out an application, go work in McDonald's, right? So we did a comparison. That kid that works in McDonald's in 5 years, that starts out with maybe minimum wage, in 5 years, he moves up the ladder in McDonald's into a management position, right? Or a step close to that position. Never have a criminal record, starts to build his credit, goes to school, right? Never miss a day of freedom. You get the average kid that's in the corner that's selling drugs, don't even survive 5 years. Okay, he'd be lucky enough if he survives staying out of jail twice in 1 year. Okay, what do they make? Make nothing. Yeah, you may make an instant cash deposit of maybe a couple $100, maybe $1,000 in a week, right? But is it worth the time you're gonna get when you get caught? Is, you know, $5,000? Let's just say given, and trust me when I tell you, these young kids out there not making no freaking $5,000. If they are, 3,500 of that is going to their boss.
Yeah.
Okay. So they get caught with drugs and they go away for 3 to 6 years.
Yeah.
3 to 6 years minimum. You mean to tell me for $1,500, you're giving up your life, your freedom for $1,500, making fun of that kid that went to McDonald's that doesn't have the Jordans, that didn't have the nice jeans, right? But now in 5 years, he's got a car, he's got good credit, he's got his own apartment.
Yep.
He done graduated school and he's working toward the goal.
Yep.
Okay, that you can never take from him. I wish at the time I was that kid at McDonald's. You know, and that's a fact today.
Yeah. It's true. You know, sometimes the honest work is not, the most glamorous. Look, I've had crappy jobs. I mean, where I made less than minimum wage. It just was the way it was back then. I was getting paid on the table, thankfully. But cleaning up fucking toilets and
Somebody from the IRS watched this.
Oh, good. My address is. But no, I did spend extra time like at the drag strip that I used to work at. We actually had to take up all the rubber that was on the track, and I don't know how familiar you are with car racing. It's hot, nasty work, and we did it for like a beer or two and maybe a couple of dollars here and there. But doing that job for so many years, over time, somebody else gets to do it, number one. And number two, you build that foundation going forward. And you're able to make that money, like you said. We can climb the ladder. Look, everybody's going to have to do crappy jobs at some point. Everybody's going to make minimum wage at some point. Like your first job, unless you fall ass backwards into some CEO job somewhere. It's really rare. But for everybody out there, you're going to have a job or two that you're not going to love it. Like the job at McDonald's. I know a lot of my friends did that, growing up. It will get better, especially if you focus on being positive and being a team player. It will get better.
Yeah, then the other thing too, you got to realize that when you're just starting out, getting a job, whether you decide to go to college or you decide to just start working, it's those building blocks. Like
Exactly what it is.
Like you said, you could get lucky and fall ass backwards into a big position. It's not going to happen. I think these young kids need to understand, like when you're getting into the work field or even going to school, whatever it is, it's going to start small. It's going to be a small job. But you got to have that mental capacity to understand that, it's like this right now. But I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get to the next level, and then the next level, and the next level. Like for me, I had to literally at the age of 34 redefine myself because, I was doing the sales thing for a long time, and it was just, I was burnt from it. I was doing sales forever. And I'm like, I gotta make a change because I see guys, and this is no knock on anybody, it's just my own vision, but I would see like older guys walking in the office, new job. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy, man, and I had to make a decision. So I went back to school. I started doing college online. I got my degree in IT. I'm getting my certification in cybersecurity. Nice. And I put that work in. Nobody told me you need to do this. Mm-hmm. My parents told me when I was young, you need to go to college, you need to do that. I didn't listen. It took me to have those own life experiences to figure it out. I needed to learn on my own.
Absolutely.
Although I had the people around me to give me the right advice, I needed that. And now, I got an engineering position at my job. I'm learning a lot. It's totally different. I'm doing everything that I want to do. But I had to make that happen. I had to make that effort. Nobody said, here you go, it's yours. No, I had to make a valiant effort to that. So,
and that's what it is. And that's one of the things I always, whenever I do videos and I post something up, is keep pushing forward, no matter what. Keep pushing forward, striving for positivity. Things will get better. I came home 23 months ago. I started out making $13 an hour. Now I make over $20 an hour, over that. I just got my own office. I work for a respectable treatment center called Roy Life Center. I excelled in every position that I was put in. I would go in and I took what I learned was to take all that energy, that same energy that I took into doing criminal stuff or selling drugs or whatever it is that I did. I took that same energy and I put it in something positive. I knew that when I came home, I was not going to allow my past to dictate my future. I knew that I wasn't going to use the excuse that I couldn't get a good job because I spent 22 years in and out of prison, or because I just came home. You know, the owner of my facility, you know, took me out to dinner. He's like, you know, Anthony, what do you want? Do you want a job or do you want a career? I can absolutely say that I'm doing what I love to do. There's nothing better than being able to help somebody, you know, that's suffering through an addiction, because I was there, you know, and it's just pushing forward. It's knowing what you want to do. And I think one of the biggest problems that people have today is that, and you said it, you know, people want to be a CEO without knowing how to freaking clean the bathroom.
Yep.
You know, you have to know where's your weakness and where your strong points at, right? And implement those and work on those weak points so that you can keep building. And I used to hear people in jail stay all the time. Don't have no reading education, no math education, don't even know how to talk proper English. Oh, when I get home, I want a job at, you know, at a bank, or I want to go work at an office company and I'm going to be, you know, a CFO. Well, man, you can't even count your commissary money. You know what I mean? And you want to be a CFO? What? You know, but it's not that you can't be a CFO. It's just you have to work towards it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be given to you. It's not going to come easy.
No.
And I think that's the good thing. You know, you have that mentality of it's not going to come easy. And if it does, great, thank God.
Yeah.
But most likely it won't. And to have that mentality of, yes, there's going to be negative stuff that's going to happen to me. Yes, I'm going to fail over and over again. Yes, but I'm going to get through it. You know, and that's that whole positive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, staying positive, and I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely. You know, I think that's just what life is about. You know, it's just growing.
Yeah,
it's just growing. Why do I want to stay stuck doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the different results when I got 22 years of experience saying that I'm not good at it?
Yep.
You know
Hey, and you could make, how old are you?
I'm going to be a 45, right, babe? 45? Oh my God, I'll be 45 in December. I forget sometimes. You know, so I spent half my life in prison, in and out of prison. You know, and it's never too late to change.
Right, it's never too late. Took the words out of my mouth because that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
We have that power. Like, you know, what you were saying, people get out of jail and they say to themselves, I'm not going to get a good job.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's defeatist. Like, you can.
Well,
you just have to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe you may have to go through a couple of different avenues, different than somebody else does, but you can still get there.
What you call those avenues, and everybody goes through, it's called embracing the suck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I learned from way back when, where, life is not easy. It never will be easy. Nobody would, with the exception of, like, 1%. Here you go. Here's everything you could possibly want and more. For the rest of us, you have to work for it.
You got to work.
And you're going to have crappy jobs and crappy bosses, and you're going to get the shaft every once in a while, like whether it be a promotion or whatever. You got to embrace all that. But the most important thing, which I think you've done very well, you embrace what happened, how you can use it, and then you feed that out towards everything you do going forward. That's what more people, I think, nowadays need to do. Yeah, you can sit and complain and say, I didn't get a promotion, or I did this, or I did that. It's like, well, complaining about it doesn't make it better.
Man. I've been there. I used to get people
You can be upset about it. Yeah,
I used to get pissed. I'm like, him?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like him?
You get passed over, like, this guy gets this. It's like, come on now.
Yeah.
But and you see that that undeserved few get those things.
But here's the other thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually having this conversation yesterday with somebody. But the other thing too, for people that it took me a long time to learn, but it's so true. Don't put all your cards into another human being. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're at work and you're really banking on your boss giving you that promotion, don't bank on your boss giving you that promotion. Don't think because you got all these compliments that you got some sort of something coming to you, because it's not going to happen. You got to make it happen.
You got to bet. You got to bet on you.
And if
You
you
gotta bet on
you
you.
get passed
100%.
over, you need to go somewhere where you're considered more valuable.
You always need to have your options.
Oh yeah, you always have to have different irons in the fire.
Because it's your life. Look,
Yeah.
when I work my job, I'm a dedicated employee. I do everything that I'm supposed to do. But at the same time, it's my life. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes at my job, or any job in particular. I could generally speak and say anybody could go to work and not know what's going on behind the scenes. Is the company struggling? They're going to let people go. Meanwhile, you're working your ass off at a job. Next thing you know, you're out on the street. You always gotta have a backup plan. You always gotta have a game plan because it's your life.
Yeah.
And you're the only one that could steer the ship the way you want to steer it.
Exactly.
Nobody else. And I learned that.
And you got to network. And you got to network. I mean, let's just put it out there. You know, you're gonna get what you put out in life. You know, I learned that when I hang out with negative people doing negative things, I tend to gravitate to doing negative things. When I surround myself with good people who are striving to buy a house, to get a new car, to pay their bills, to have, you know, some goals in life, that's what I tend to gravitate to. And, you know, I just want to take a moment out that, you know, I've had some amazing men in my life down here, you know, in Florida. You know, I got a brother, you know, in West Palm named Manny Mendez. You know, he's been a pivotal role, and me and this guy, we got high together. I've seen them, you know, just 7-8 years ago, walking around barefoot, no shoes, no place to live. You know, to today, he's, you know, an established artist, film director, you know, published author. He puts on a big event every year called the Art of Recovery Film Festival in West Palm.
I saw that.
Yeah, you know, and I was honored to be a part of a platform, you know, up there this year. You know, I got, you know, I have, you know, an amazing support group, you know. And that's just one brother that, you know, I can speak of that came from the same background as me. And now, you know, guy went from being homeless with no shoes. Now he owns his own house, you know, got more shoes than he can fit in his closet. you know, and that's what his life's about. Surround yourself with who you want to be. I surround myself with recovering addicts because that's what I am. You know, not say that I don't associate with people who still drink or still drug, because the truth of the matter is I do. You know, but do I hang out with them on a daily basis? No, I don't. You know, I don't go and do something if I need to see them and they drink it, it doesn't bother me. You know, but that's what it's about. You know, you got to bet on you. And that's what I did. I took a gamble on me with this book. With everything I do is that I bet on me that when I put out that positive energy, that vibe out there, that somebody's going to see it, recognize it, and get something out of it. You know.
And speaking of your book, tell my listeners about your book.
You know,
what could they expect?
Man, what you can expect is just a really dark street tale. It's just, you know, part of every story in every ghetto in America. Whether you're from the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, New York, Chicago, LA, it doesn't matter. I think everyone who's been involved in the drug game experienced this. But I like to really think of this book. It's really, for me, it's like a ghetto love story. When you read the book, and you'll understand why it's a ghetto love story. Everybody thinks it's just all bad. It's Thug's Revenge, Coward's Nightmare. It's just about killing and drugs. It's not. It's really not. It's a really beautiful love tale. You know, the person making that ultimate decision, do he allow the hate in his heart and resentment to control his life, to not allow him to love again? Or does he allow that love to overcome everything and step away from the game?
Wow. That sounds great.
And that's what this book is about. You know, because if we don't have love, if you don't feel that, I like to say that baby love, that unconditional love, that no judgment love, you can't be around people that don't have to speak, don't have to say nothing, you don't have to shower with a gift. Yes, in the presence of them, or the thought of being in that presence with them fulfills you. You know, that's a wonderful thing. If you don't have that, people need to really take a deep look at themselves.
Yep.
You know?
It's true. We need it. I think it's important, man.
Absolutely.
It is, you know, it is. You know, I hear these crazy stories. I talk to a lot of people, and I hear these stories about, you know, people when they were kids getting abused by their parents or family members. And they grow up so fucked up, man. They really do. And they don't want to. But these events that occur in your life when you don't have people loving on you, it could take a terrible toll on you.
Yeah.
It really could. You know, I count my blessings every day. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great book. I can't wait to dive into it myself. I got a 14-hour plane ride next Saturday, so
Nice.
I'll probably knock it out.
Absolutely.
I'm
I
looking
think it's a
forward to
fast-paced read like that. I am working on another book called OT on the I-95, and it's just talking about, the drug war, the drug game back in the late 70s, early 80s, and, the crack epidemic and stuff like that. All my books, have some truth to it, and I hope to spend something positive out of it. And, that's what I'm trying to bring. I'm not trying to be nobody else. I'm just trying to be Anthony Colon. I'm just trying to write my experience. Either you identify with it or you don't. It's okay. I'm not trying to do this, be rich. Just trying to do it to help people. And to hit on a note, you just talked about the sexual abuse. What I would like to really talk about, it's the epidemic that we're dealing with today. We're dealing with a horrible epidemic right now, with the opioids and this fentanyl and people dying. There's people out there literally dying. I just got a phone call this past week about a friend of mine that was my co-worker who passed away last year, and he died of an overdose because he was so heartbroken about his best friend doing drugs, right? That he went overdose and died. That same best friend just wound up passing away last Friday.
Wow.
And it's serious, and a lot of people that struggle with mental health and with substance abuse have some type of underlying issue, whether it be sexual trauma, PTSD, growing up in a bad neighborhood, bad household, no matter what it is, people need to embrace this and come up with an answer to get people as much help as we possibly can. I'm a recovering addict. I just celebrated over 6 years.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And for me, I'm no different than that person who stuck a needle in his arm, smoking crack, doing heroin, drinking themselves to death. I overcame that. That was me. I'm an addict. I learned today that I don't have to ever get high again. I don't ever have to have a drink again. And what I do is I do the same simple, basic things that I did when I started getting clean. I stay involved. I stay speaking in engagements. I go to meetings. And I love me. And, for struggling addicts out there, anywhere, everywhere, there's help. My treatment center, Royal Life Center, our number is 877-732-6837. If you're in Florida and you need help, you can call me directly at 561-562-3903. I don't care. I don't want to keep having these phone calls and people dying. These are our kids, and it's horrible. It's
That's
really
great
horrible.
that you do that, man. That you have people reach out to you, even on a personal level like that. Because I living down here in Florida, Delray Beach, it's all these rehab joints, and it's all about this, and there's no real help. So for you to give out your personal phone number for people to reach out to you, that's a big thing, man.
And let me tell you something. One of the things that I respect about my treatment center, the owner gives out probably more scholarships per year than any treatment centers put together.
Wow.
Okay, we do a thing out in Washington State where once a month we go underneath the bridge. They send out some of the behavioral health technicians. They go underneath the bridge where the people are sleeping out there on the tents, and they offer them what's called an Elliott bag. An Elliott bag is to offer you treatment for a person that has no insurance, completely homeless, don't have no means of getting no type of help. And we offer them a full scholarship. I mean, they full medical detox, 30 days of inpatient residential, a 9-week outpatient aftercare program with housing. We provide them with food, with everything that they need to get them through that transition for the next 3.5 months.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that not everybody gets it. Not everybody takes a full advantage of it. But in his heart, and we believe that we got to keep trying.
That's the big focus, man. Just keep pushing.
Yeah.
One of my listeners says, God bless Anthony. You're a bigger man than you think. Bigger man than you think you are. Keep up the good work. God is always looking over you.
Thank you. Thank you. I definitely appreciate that.
That's true, man. And for our listeners, how can my listeners get your book?
They could go on Amazon, Doug's Revenge, Coward Nightmare. Just type in my name, Anthony Colon. That's Colon. I know a lot of people like to pronounce it colon, but it's Cologne. It has always been a good joke. Or they can follow me on Facebook on the Anthony Rough Rider.
Mm-hmm.
You could go on Instagram on the Anthony Colon 188. Twitter, Anthony Colon at Anthony Colon 188. Messenger me, call me. I put my number out there. Call me. I get it out to you. The shirt. Just support it. Hit me up. You need help for anything.
I'm going to put everything on my social media too.
Okay.
I'm going to put a link to your Amazon book on this video as well.
Okay.
So you'll be able to click on it, check it out. I'm going to announce the winner tomorrow on social media, who wins the book.
Okay.
So get ready for that. Somebody's
Nice.
going to have a good read on their lap very soon.
Yes.
We're always giving something away on this show.
That's right.
I like to give back to my subscribers. I don't ask anybody for any money
That's
to
right.
do this show.
And it's going to be autographed
There you
for
go.
my Guy Think podcast and Anthony Colon.
All right.
All right. So that you know.
Sound like that.
All right.
I like it.
Yes.
I like it.
That's right.
That's very cool.
Anthony, thank you
This
for
is
being a
wonderful.
guest on the show, man. It was my
Man.
pleasure to have you and hear your story, and I really hope it resonates with my listeners and it gets shared, and somebody out there hears your story and inspires them to reach out to you and improve their life, man.
It was a pleasure and honor to be here, to sit down here with both of you gentlemen, man. Please continue doing what y'all do, and thank you everybody that was out there listening. Please tune in. I want to say hi to my little baby girl at home, Valentina. Daddy loves you and miss you. And my beautiful wife, Jackie, and my family, everybody in the BX, everybody that's locked down, everybody that's struggling with addiction. Stay up, keep pushing forward. We here, man. Change is possible.
Absolutely. My mom said there's no thing.
Nice.
Beautiful name.
Nice.
Beautiful name. Dana Shaw, always a pleasure, my friend.
Always good to be here.
And
This
I-
was fantastic.
I can't see the ship without my co-host team, and Dana Shaw is one of my leading men here. And always a pleasure to have you and be a part of the show. And
It's
thank you
great to
again,
be
brother. Yeah, it's always a good time.
Yeah, and we got
T-shirts.
shirts for
Oh.
you there, Dana. That's the extra large.
Yeah,
or
extra
you might-
large.
Show,
Wait.
show everybody
Oh,
out
this
there.
is nice.
There
This is
you
from the
go.
cover of the book.
That's right. That's what it
Nice.
is.
Perfect.
I got mine too.
We're
like
gonna we're gonna
Mine too, right
autograph.
here.
We're gonna autograph the book right here for one lucky winner out there.
Throw this on.
Going on, kid.
There we go. We're all thugged out.
All right, we'll wear that tonight. Represent.
This fits pretty good.
Actually, I do a lot of Skype interviews and stuff, so I usually put different businesses T-shirts on. Always trying to help people out. So
Yeah.
my next Skype, Doug's Revenge, is going on.
Yeah.
Got to do
You've
it.
had a couple of businesses already. You had Chrome Glow.
Yeah.
You had his stuff on there.
Blueprint Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
Silver Ball
Nice.
Museum, guys. If you're a business owner, locally or anywhere in the world, really doesn't matter. Just mail me your shirt. I'll wear it on my Skype interviews. I do it for free. I don't charge anybody. I just like to help people out. I don't think there's enough help going around. At least that's how I feel, right? But maybe I'm not doing enough to help others, so I want to do more. So I think it'll be cool. So if you got a business or you know somebody's got a business, reach out to them, let them know. Send me a shirt. I'll wear it during a Skype interview. These interviews, I get all these fighters on. A lot of people watch these videos, so it'll actually be benefiting you and your business. So please do. I'll be happy to do it. So yeah, that's a wrap today. Man Roll, they're open. They're pouring beer right now. I see it. And I'm thirsty myself. It's not another drink.
There it is. So lucky listener.
There it is. Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh.
Thank you. All right, somebody's getting this. tomorrow, a big announcement.
Pay attention.
Pay attention, peeps. You can catch the replay in about 5 minutes of this interview. Everybody have a great Saturday, and stay safe, please.
Please.
Don't do anything crazy out there.
God bless.
All right.